Welcome to Speculative Sandbox, your audio playground for creative storytellers. My name is Vicky Lon, and in each episode, I and a guest will unpack a trope with an eye for world building, character development, or narrative structures. You can also join the conversation on TikTok and Instagram. For those times when the real world just doesn't cut it, let's get lost in a fictional one. Okay, Michael, of all the successful technology predictions you've made in your sci-fi books, which one do you really hope does not come true?
Wow, that's a great question. Yeah, I there's a number that I'm really concerned about. I
Okay.
would say probably the robotic attack dogs, probably the one that jumps to my mind because
Okay.
yeah, they think of like Boston Dynamics where they are right now with robotic dogs.
Yes.
Advance that in 20 years. I think
Ooh.
those could be vicious.
Yeah, I've seen those. So they're black and white robotic things, right? And they kind
Hmm.
of stomp around and they can twist around and change orientation. I see them like navigating rocks in the forest
Yes.
sometimes, some of the earlier videos. So you're thinking in 20
Yeah.
years, those could be used as attack dogs.
Yeah, exactly. And relentless, you can't avoid them. You can't get away. They just keep coming after you.
Oh, it's
That's a lot
terrifying.
harder way to start this. Wow.
You know what though? The listeners love it. All the doom and gloom episodes do really well. All right, Michael, please, thank you so much for joining us. Can you
Thank you for
please
having me
introduce
on.
yourself to the listeners and share
Uh,
with us your books?
Absolutely. And thank you for having me on. It's great to be here. My name is Michael C. Bland. I am the author of a trilogy called The Price of. So it's The Price of Safety, The Price of Rebellion, and The Price of Freedom. First one came out in 2020, right at the height of the pandemic. Horrible time to start, have a debut book come out. But they've all been very successful. I'm very proud of them. The first one reached top 10 in Amazon bestseller list. The second one won Best Science Fiction Novel of the Year by Indies Today. All three combined have won about 15 awards. So I'm very, very proud of them.
Congratulations. That's awesome. Yes,
Thank you.
2020 was a very difficult year. So that's so it really says something about your books. Your work spoke to the readers. And that's why I'm also really excited to talk to you today because I think what we're going to share with our listeners is going to be very insightful. So we are crafting this episode to be around forecasting through fiction, how sci-fi serves as a really interesting lens to look at future problems
Mhm.
as solved through technology and science. So let's go through your inventions. I have a list.
Okay.
We can go right through them, or how would you like to present
Sure.
them?
Absolutely. We can kind of go through them and start, spooking your listeners more. So
Okay,
it'll be
so
fun.
some of
Yeah.
these sound a little familiar, and some of them, like you said, with the robotic weaponized dogs, maybe something in our
Mm.
new future. So let's start with DNA scanners. So tell us what that is.
So in my book, DNA scanners, they're machines that okay, so we all shed dead skin cells and hair follicles just naturally. Well, in my book, these machines sucked the dead skin cells and hair follicles out of the air, ran the DNA, and identified you.
Wow.
A month after the second book came out, a company in California announced they've created that exact technology.
Ooh, gross. Okay, so okay, let's paint the picture here. We have a
Yeah,
crime scene, maybe. You walk in, something happened to somebody in a room, and you can just try to like if you were the person who did the crime, your hair might still be floating around in the room.
exactly, exactly.
Oh,
And then if you have these positioned throughout the city or whatever, they can then pull that out of the air and go, oh, that you know that person is now down Main Street and now they are in this part of town. And yeah,
wow. So they can just take the machine down the street and just like a dog on the scent.
exactly a dog, or if you have it on specific spots throughout the city. So you're monitoring people in general, and then you see, hey, here is this person of interest that we think may have committed this crime. You can't hide.
Wow. So, okay, what is the difference between what your creation did versus what we've come to do in real life? Is the technology now as advanced as what you envisioned?
Yeah, from what they're saying, exactly. Now they claim they're going to put it on. They envision to put it on hiking trails, so that if a hiker gets lost, oh well, our machine saw that John Doe passed by the day before, so we know where to look. Yeah,
Oh,
that's what the
wow.
technology they claim they're going to use it for, but. Like any technology, others can use it for other reasons.
Yeah, immediately I'm worried about like maybe I went hiking over there too, or I went to go visit somebody right before they murdered somebody, and
Right? Exactly.
and
Yes,
then
you don't
suddenly my
know.
hair's caught up in that. Yeah, okay, scary. All right, next we have brain implants.
Yes, and of course, the one that easily comes to mind is Elon Musk's is Neuralink technology,
Hmm.
which is kind of a starting point. But in my book, there are miniature computers that are implanted in people's brains, and I say why and all that within the book. But there's a great positive of a technology like that, especially people who can't see or immobile. The
Hmm.
technology can help reestablish the ability for people to walk and to see, that kind of thing. However, it's already advanced way more than I had expected when I started writing the books in terms of what they can do with that implanted technology. And it's just going to continue to get more and more advanced.
What would you say is the biggest warning, red flag for something like Neuralink?
Um, it's the control. It's this company has put in a device in your brain. And it kind of also, this goes to even our cell phones nowadays. And I was actually reading something that our phones, I don't know if you know this, but they track how you naturally walk. And if you change that, it triggers it, and they think that maybe your phone got stolen. So then, so it monitors that. It also monitors your daily habits so that they can help with, suggestions of places to go, things that you might like, for ads and
Hmm.
that kind of thing. You implant technology in the brain that it can also start doing other things that you don't know, that you didn't exactly sign up for. That's just a scary slope.
Yeah. Well, and even looking into the science of it, people with, for example, Parkinson's, they have a brain implant now that can help relieve some of the symptoms of Parkinson's, like the shaking.
Mm.
However, there are some side effects that may be caused because we don't 100% know or understand all the ways that the brain works. So the very device that can be used to help relieve a symptom can actually erode another part of your brain. And these are all things that we are still trying to figure out through medical advancements. So it's always interesting looking at the swing between the optimism, right? The scientific
Hmm.
optimism of improving quality of life. But then what I love about sci-fi is you are exercising the very worst case scenarios to kind of, in a way, warn and hope to also improve our future.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And then you have here swarming drones, which I immediately think of drones at like the Super Bowl halftime show where you have like a ton of them up in the air and they're flying around. So those kinds of
Right.
swarming drones.
Yes, to a degree. That is the benign entertainment version of the swarming
Okay.
drones. But in my book, it's a little more vicious. Using the same kind of technology to now, instead of sending a drone after you, send 50.
Ooh.
And they work in a coordinated way to go after you, go after the other people in your party, whatever, and they're coming after you to
Ugh.
either capture you, kill you, whatever.
Scary,
And
scary.
that technology is already being developed, and really the war in Ukraine, they've become like the world leaders right now in terms of drone technology. They're using also the kamikaze type drones, the autonomous drones, and so that what I was envisioning back in 2017, 2018 when I wrote the first book, because out of necessity, because of the war, people are now using drones in ways that I had just envisioned, but hadn't seen anything being done in the real world, and yet now they are.
Oh, scary, scary. Because yeah, t talking about it in the entertainment versus the warfare, and what will it look like 20 years from now when they continue to evolve the technology?
Exactly.
And some other things we have AI's virtual headset and AI glasses. I'm seeing those for sale in like Best Buy and stuff. I've been seeing the AI glasses. So you wrote about that. How do you
Yeah.
see the reality of it now compared to what you wrote?
I'm seeing the beginning stages, and in my book, it's 20 years, 20 plus years in the future, so it's much more advanced. But these are the building blocks. These are the original steps. These are, you have where the AI glasses, the meta glasses, where it's in real time. It's reacting to what you are seeing as you're walking down the street. And
Hmm.
I heard that when Zuckerberg was supposed to go talk before Congress, they specifically stated, "Hey, you and your team don't bring any of your glasses in there."
Mm.
Again, that's the starting point of the world that we're finding ourselves in, and that is going to continue to be more and more interactive, more and more unavoidable. And it's Not that I'm a big fan of technology, love technology, and part of me had a lot of fun in a twisted way with some of the things with my book as I was writing them. But it's really also a warning, and is where's the check and balance with it?
Hmm. Exactly. Well, and when I think of AI glasses, I also think of, I don't know if you've ever read Jason Pargin's Zoe Ash novel, Futuristic Violence in Fancy Suits. And he was looking at how surveillance glassware can be used as an extension of social media. So we're no longer following other people's feeds. We're literally following their streams of their conscious, just their life, going through their life, and how it doesn't take government or policies to enforce a use, but rather social pressures. And,
Hmm.
like I need to be streamed in because this is how I gain access to my friends and how I gain access to my job and make money. The monetization of social media and how that can further motivate people to use these technologies.
Yes, absolutely. And it becomes a slippery slope, right?
Hmm.
Already it's on live streaming and those kinds of things and taking 400,000 pictures on your phone kind of thing. And now this is becoming the norm. And then the next level, exactly what you're talking about, what that author was writing about, where the streaming, it becomes, well, everyone, all my other friends are doing it. I need to be doing it as well. And so you're sharing, there's just, destroying the last bit of any privacy because you're streaming every minute of every day that you're, going around.
Hmm. Yep, absolutely. So, are you surprised that your ideas eventually became a reality?
Um, I really try to make my books as realistic as possible. I did a ton of technology before I started writing the first book and I've read books, I'm sure you've read books as well, where something the author writes or something they make up, you go, wait, no, that doesn't make any sense, right? Especially because my books are near future. So it had to be, in my mind, a tiny attachment to where we are today
Hmm.
before getting to that level. And so almost everything that I had in my books tied to something that is either here nowadays or something that is in initial development, something that is, at initial stage. And they're just starting that. Like a good example also is fusion technology. Right now, they're managed to hold on to that plasma for a few seconds. Well, but it keeps getting longer and longer and longer. In 20 years, fusion technology should be a norm for us,
Hmm.
but it's not now. Well, in my books, it does exist. So to answer your question, I'm not totally surprised. In fact, it has a little bit of validation in a way because I
Hmm.
really wanted to make the world as realistic, the stories as realistic as possible, so that you as the reader are able to just be pulled into this world of what it might be, and then the characters and the challenges that they face, and have that enjoyment of this fast-paced story, and the characters in it without the technology being so far off base that it throws you out of the story. I didn't want that.
So when you're sitting down and you're writing your story and you're incorporating these different technological advancements as part of your world building plot devices, what is your goal as you invent each one? Is it your goal to kind of warn, inspire, or just explore?
That's a great question. I think for the most part, it's to warn.
Okay.
And a big reason is because, and I'm guilty of this as well. I have a Gmail account. Okay, it's a free account. I have an iPhone. Those technologies, the free part is that's great, but they're also able to scrape a whole lot of data based
Hmm.
on what I'm doing and the emails that I'm responding to and all that stuff. And they're able to create this digital, um, profile of me with my phone. It does things that I'm not aware of what it does. Do I still carry it around every day? Do I still look at it multiple times? Absolutely. I still bank through it, everything else. But at what point is it that trust, that assumption that, oh, everything is fine? When does that no longer become fine? And an
Hmm.
example is actually it was a perfect example of this is I don't know if you've watched any of the ads from the Super Bowl, but the Ring camera. Did
Hmm.
you see that where it's showing this, oh, if your pet's missing and we're linking all of the cameras together and the huge outcry because absolutely. But it was also, my God, almost a scene from my book where all these cameras linked together. That's a huge part of my book and the characters trying to protect themselves in that kind of world.
Yeah.
So
No,
I really am warning. Yeah.
It's interesting too, speaking of the ring and the technology, especially right now, there's the case of Nancy Guthrie case that's going on right now in Arizona,
Hmm.
where if you don't have a subscription to like a Ring or a Nest, you supposedly lose that footage. But they were able, supposedly, the FBI was able to get footage older than what that resident had subscribed for because they didn't subscribe for anything. So it immediately raised the question of, wait a minute, where is that footage going after an expiration date? Is there like what's the cutoff? And it's always interesting how these different cases come up and you start to realize, oh, I don't think I'm fully informed on the extent of what this technology is doing.
Right, exactly. And here's the other thing is the ring then said, okay, publicly, we're not going to, implement that kind of technology to link things together. Is anyone following up? I mean,
Mm.
are they going to be true to that, or are they going to wait till it dies down? And then, perfect example, the Guthrie case, it could end up being where something happens in the future. Now, oh, actually, we're going to show us a video of 8 different ring cameras is linked together that shows what happened.
Hmm. I have this fear that I've talked about several times. This must be a really prevalent fear if I keep talking about it. Uh, I have this fear that our phones have been listening to us this entire time and recording, and that they, using AI, can eventually recreate entire conversations it overhears from us. Just like how politicians suddenly learned that their photos don't go away from their bad college days and they resurface decades later. That
Hmm.
conversation you shared with somebody, I don't know, 10 years ago suddenly using, echolocation or whatever, the phone can tell where you were sitting, where someone else was sitting, and just AI generate an entire movie scene. And so like I'm just kind of waiting for that terrible future. I hope that nobody, okay, if you're a billionaire listening to this, don't get any ideas. Like
Well, look, the phones are already listening to us. Let's be
hmm
honest. My wife and I were talking about we want to take a trip and where would we like to go? And this was back in like 2018. And we both decided, hey, we would love to go to Iceland. Had never talked about this before. Next time both of us started pulling up either, the internet, Facebook, whatever, ads for Iceland all over the place. They're listening.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. So just be prepared in 30 years. You might be framed for something based off of a conversation you had that you thought was nothing. You're
Right,
welcome,
exactly.
everybody.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, sleep well.
Okay, so pulling back a little bit, let's talk about the practice of writing and invention. So, beyond the gimmick of the technology device that you are getting to play with, right, in your
Mhm.
book, what are you as a writer actually predicting? What do these technological advancements represent when it comes to our concerns and the plot?
I think what it is that for the most part, writers what they're looking for or what they're writing is where they expect the world's going to go, the challenges that we're going to have to face as a society and as a race, the what technology we're going to encounter or going to have to fight against, and how that's going to go. For example, if I was writing a story that involves giving people the ability to breathe underwater. Okay, then I might think that everything's going to flood and that we're going to basically be living underwater. That kind of expectation. If I'm going to write about technology where we're all having to bundle up and everything else, I'm thinking there might become an ice age. Those kinds of concerns, the expectations of where we think we might going to go, and then get more complex, more societal challenges, race disparity, has versus haves nots, the political, real politic, those kinds of things. And those can be other concerns because those will be other challenges as we continue into the future. And it's how we're going to address it. And then what's going to be then the technology problem, solution, advancement, those kinds of things.
So understanding the writer perspective, because I think that's great, right? Because that's what writing's all about. We have to create motive, we have to create risk, we have to workshop different ideas, we need to show a character arc, right? So it makes
Hmm.
sense that we kind of point out problems to solve. Um,
Yes.
but let's look at technology in the real world. We don't have fiction writers, or at least I don't know if we do or we don't, in the lab coats creating the actual inventions. So how would we differentiate how technology actually advances in the real world as opposed to the writer's motivation in a story? So for example, I was thinking revenue? Like, would this make the person a lot of money? What is the problem that we're trying to solve? We create the technological advancement, and you likely did it because you make money out of it, or at least that's what gets you to survive the process of invention, because it costs money to invent and
Hmm.
to advance. So,
Absolutely.
what do you think is the difference in the factors that influence real world technological advancements?
A big part is money. It's you're addressing some issue, some challenge. Now, it could
Hmm.
also be the government. DARPA is a huge spender of R&D and advancements, and they've actually done a lot of advancements as well. And their goal isn't money. Their goal is either for defense, it's for advancements, it's for making sure to build make the best bomb, ship, plane,
Hmm.
whatever it might be. And those can then feed out other advancements. The Apollo space race generated so much in terms of advancements, which affected us in so many positive ways,
Hmm.
around the globe. So the biggest drive probably is the buck. It's,
Hmm.
who I'm going to make money. I'm going to take this advancement, and even AI companies right now. And part of the reason why everything that I'm reading and a lot of the concerns right now are about security and about, are they really thinking through what, as they continue to advance this technology, guys, what kind of safeguards are there? What kind of,
Hmm.
guardrails are there? And their response across the board essentially is, well, if I slow down to, set security and guardrails in place, someone else is going to pass me by, then they're the one that's going to be the winner at the end and make all the money. I'm
Hmm.
not,
Yeah. Yeah.
which is
Accessibility, the
scary.
barriers to entry when you have near monopolies. Exactly. Yeah.
Mhm.
And I'm sorry, I think I interrupted you. Were you saying something else?
It wasn't important.
Oh,
It was
okay.
along those lines. Anyway, so yeah.
Um, yeah, I think about that too, because let's say that I want to invent something that I think will be beneficial, and I've got no money, no prospects. And so in my mind, it's like, where do you even begin? The starting line is so much further back than if Amazon goes, you know what? I think I also want to solve this problem. But by the way, I also have investors and I have a network and I have ulterior means to continue to use this technology. And when we
Yes,
talk about like money as a motivation, you and I are concerned about our surveillance and privacy, but there's monetization to those things that would absolutely inspire a company to want to create those technological advancements.
absolutely. Yeah. A
So,
Ring camera, that was to, that was a result of, hey, a way to make money. Let's put a little
mhm,
camera on the doorbell. We can, so that way you can see who's at the door without getting it from your couch. You can look at it from your cell phone. But then at the same time, there's that technology of all these cameras. And now is the next logical step. We're going to link it all together as a way of surveillance.
mhm. And of course, when they first come out to market the Ring or this or the Nest or whatever, they don't go buy this because it'll make us money. They give a story. They provide a story of your safety, your security. You talked about having a free email account. The fact that the story is you have accessibility. What was it? Google used to have was it Google like "Don't be evil" or something was like their tagline.
Yes, I think that was like their mission statement. Yeah,
Yes.
don't be evil, I believe.
So a story of the idea of like gaining trust and people thinking, oh, this benefits me. And then meanwhile, look at all the information we basically handed over. And the presentation that it's considered a consensual agreement when we believe we understand one thing and then we find out later that, oh, our stuff's actually being used for other things.
And within my book, that was a big aspect of the book, is the main character created this security system. He did it because he wanted to protect his kids. He wanted to make sure that they would be safe. And that's the slippery slope, is at what point is it go from security and safety to invasion of privacy and control?
Mm,
And you take what was a technology that he built with the best intentions and with wanting to help make sure that everyone is safe, that that as a result no crime essentially went unsolved anymore, because you had this combined surveillance system that basically saw everything.
mm.
So then, great, congratulations, you basically just made crime go away. That's fantastic, you are a rock star. But you've also now, unfortunately, people are now taking that technology and now turning it into a surveillance state.
Mhm. The end of is it Batman? Is the Christian Bale Batman the second one of the trilogy? I don't know if you've seen that, but
Hmm.
he has a whole cell phone system where he's broken to everybody's, phones, and he uses
Yeah.
that to eventually accomplish his goal, but there was a cost. Well, I was very
Yes.
young when that movie came, I was in college when that movie came out, and I remember thinking, it's fine. Like he did what he had to do to get what he had to do. And I just like didn't really think twice about like the negativity because I don't think it really hit me back then, what that actually meant for him
Yes.
to invade everyone's privacy like that. Because you can very easily get caught up in the, well, if the ends justify the means, or the means justify the ends, then it's fine. Just trust that the person has their best interest in heart.
Right. So here's the thing. It's you have your line in the sand in terms of what you're comfortable with, in terms of security, that it's okay in terms of the level of privacy. I may have a different level. Your viewers might have a different level. Problem is, who's in control of deciding that level? Is it a
Hmm.
company? Is it the government? Is it both? Because they each have, if they have their own competing systems. And I don't hear anything being talked about it. I don't see anything in terms of, hey guys, there's all this technology out there. Let's kind of we need to really sit down and decide what we're comfortable with and be, out in the open about it. I mean, and another reason why I wrote these books is, and I'm also guilty of this, is we've all just become so comfortable with having cameras watching us. I read
Hmm.
that, or I heard that in London, I don't live in London, I live in the US, but in London, the average person is caught on video 338 times in one
Oh,
day,
wow. Just walking around.
just walking around normal. That was in 2024, I believe.
Hmm. Well,
Again,
Luigi,
yeah,
when after he shot the head of, oh, forgetting names now, but when he
the
tried to make
healthcare company,
the
yeah.
healthcare company, yes,
Mhm.
made a run for it, most of it was the cameras, right? Like following his actions right after the fact. So then
Yeah,
that makes me think of, crime movies from the 90s, 2000s, where all this crime is happening out in the street and you can run away and have these chase scenes. Well, if you try to do that in real life today, we're going to have all this footage on you.
so much footage. Absolutely. Yeah.
So, what do you think now when fiction meets the real world? What do you think about people like Elon Musk who strive to achieve technological breakthroughs inspired by science fiction? Do you think that technology should be inspired by sci-fi, or should sci-fi be inspired by the technology? Is it one of those interchangeable snake eating its tail things?
Yeah, I mean, look, I think wherever inspiration strikes us, I think that's
Hmm.
great. And me being a sci-fi writer, I'm inclined to really enjoy if something that I wrote, that I created, and does inspire someone to create. Uh, and maybe not exactly what I envisioned, but shoot, Star Trek, warp technology. I've been reading that actually they, at least in theory, think that they figured out that actually how to make that happen. Would
Ooh,
someone have, right? Would someone have really thought of that if Star Trek was never made? Not sure. Now,
that's
if
a good
someone makes a
question.
lightsaber, now that could be really dangerous, and I would love to have one, but that would probably damage stuff.
I would always think
Yeah.
about teleportation. Like teleportation is one where they said if that actually happened in real life, it's the act of destroying you in one way and rebuilding you in the other. So is the new
Right.
you actually you? And is that worth wanting to explore?
Right. Yes, exactly. And what happened? And then you talk about, well, does that mean also that the soul was taken apart and brought back in?
Hmm.
Or did you? Yeah. So that's a really slippery slope, really kind of fun one. The warp drive, I'm good with, that part. I don't know about the
You're like,
teleportation.
I'll handle the light speed, but maybe don't break
Exactly.
down my
Yeah.
atoms.
Yeah. Yeah. Don't exactly. Keep me one person. That'll be much better.
All
Exactly.
right. But sci-fi concepts come with warning labels, right? So Black Mirror episode, even the things that you're workshopping in your book. So you have Skynet and Terminator, a lot of people even now are kind of responding to the surveillance state and like reminding people of Skynet. So
Mhm.
how closely do you think these scientists should be considering these warnings in their own development? Do you think they consider them at all?
I think some do. And in fact, I've been reading also that a lot of the top AI people have been quitting. They've been
Okay.
arguing, saying, look, what we're making is really kind of getting out of our control. And they've also discovered recently that AI is lies to them at times, and that it will
Hmm.
know when it's being monitored and will change its behaviors. That's a little concerning.
That's a little scary.
Um,
Okay.
yeah, I know, right? I hope everyone sleep well tonight. But and so people that have been involved in AI have been one raising their voices and two they've been quitting in protest because there's that conflict between the money and what we're actually making and what's going to be the consequence long term. And that's great if you're gonna, have a great quarter in terms of revenue, but if you're basically creating Skynet, that's not going to matter.
Let's look at emerging technologies today. Is there anything that you currently foresee as worrisome? And we've talked about this a little bit with your inventions,
Yeah,
but
a
anything
number of
else?
things. Well, definitely AI. And again, like I
Hmm.
had said, I'm just really worried about the guardrails. I'm worried about how invasive that it's becoming, that we don't know all that it can do. And we kind of track it and we try to monitor it, and yet we don't know. And reading about how they even kind of have their own little language when they talk to each other and those kinds of things. Um, so for me, really, it's AI and it's security and it's um, who, what level is, how badly we lose our privacy.
Hmm. Yeah, I would agree with you there. That has gotten concerning for me, especially as AI. I would say a year or two ago, we were able to kind of set our own standard for how much AI would we be willing to participate in. But now it's so integrated into everything, like even
Mhm.
Facebook comment summaries, or even with this Zoom, after I finish the first half of our Zoom, a little prompt comes up. It's like, would you like AI can translate or summarize exactly what happened? And I'm like, oh, okay. So I guess that's just there. I just have that
It's
access
now a
now.
thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. And in the workplace, absolutely. That's, it's really getting invasive. And then there was also this recent article, two articles recently. One was basically saying, okay, it's now 2028. And as a result of AI and how much it is invading the white collar industry and that kind of thing. And basically what they're saying is that it's a collapse of the economy, that there's
Mm.
going to be that the white collar level workers, they're the ones that spend the most, and that they're the ones that are most vulnerable to AI and they all lose their jobs.
Oof.
Now, then the other article says, well, yeah, but you're also forgetting that, okay, companies save a lot of money by reducing staff because of AI, but then they can reinvest it and hire these people doing other things. And so it's not all doom and gloom. Either way, the takeaway is that next few years there's going to be massive upheavals and different things.
Absolutely. Okay, so then looking at the complete opposite end of the spectrum, what advancements do you think are worth exploring for their for potential positive impacts on the community?
I definitely think technology such as the brain implants for people that are injured, that can't see, that aren't able to walk, those kinds of things. I definitely think that kind of
Hmm.
technology is fantastic. Another technology in my book, nanotechnology, to be able to help with healthcare and to be able to, someone gets injured, it helps stop the bleeding, it helps start reconstructing the damaged tissue, that kind of thing. That would also be another area I think would be fantastic, and I hope they do continue. And also fusion technology. I mean, we have a huge energy need, and not to get a discussion about people whether they believe about climate change or not, fusion technology is clean. There's no
Hmm.
byproduct, there's no waste. So to have a ongoing piece of technology that generates the energy that we need without leaving any kind of waste or anything else, it would be against that. It would be fantastic.
Yeah. I see fusion energy used a lot in utopian futuristic worlds. So it is
Yeah.
very optimistic in view. Okay, so should fiction writers feel any responsibility when their imagined technologies become real life, or at least some form of compensation?
I'll take the compensation. That would be fantastic. All right. Yeah, and Gene Roddenberry, his family should, his estate should, get some money for the warp drive.
Hmm.
Um, it's a really good question because there's hey, if you just envision something that could be used to kill millions of people, and do you really want to be touting that in your book per se? But then conversely, it's like, okay, the idea of the gun. Well, it's who uses it and what do they use it for? Do they use it
Hmm.
to commit a crime? Do they use it to protect their family? That kind of thing. So I personally, I don't say so long as a writer isn't blatant, they're wanting to create some technology and their goal is to wipe out, say a certain race or a certain country or anything like that, then I don't think the responsibility is necessarily on them because if then someone else goes out and actually creates the technology, well, first of all, they put a lot of effort and work and everything else into creating it. And now it's a tool. And that's
Hmm.
another thing in my books is that technology is a great thing. It can be used, it's a tool though. It can be used for both good and bad.
Hmm.
So just as in my book, the characters in there use some technology for good and some for bad. Same thing in the real world. And yeah, does then an author, are they responsible for that? I think goes back to the individual people and what they use that for.
Let's say that you solve the telepathy problem. You come out with your next book. You're like, I did my research, and I now know, and I'm going to use in my books a telepathy system that transports a person from point A to point B and doesn't annihilate their existence in one go. And then Elon goes, awesome. And that technology, you recognize that technology in a new product that comes out there. Do authors have any, like, what would you feel like, wait a minute, that was the one thing that it was my idea that kind of spawned into an actual product? Or do you
Mhm.
think once it's out there in the realm of fiction, it's it's done? Like your limit is in the fiction realm, and what a technologist chose to do with it is outside of you.
I would love if there be an element of, okay, it was my idea. Yes, Elon, you made it, but you wouldn't have made it or thought about it unless I'm the one that not only came up with it, but created a functional way and like you said, the research and everything else. Then I think it would be kind of more of a shared look. I should get a cut of every, telepathy machine that you sell kind of
Mm.
thing. At least a royalty or something like that. Then I think would make sense.
Okay. And if you couldn't, let's say he had really good lawyers, which I'm sure he does,
Oh, he
then
would.
you would have, I could see you putting together a PR machine where you make it known that you're the source of the ideas, and then you build an entire career critiquing other billionaire ideas, and then you
Yes.
generate income that way.
And do it that way. So yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
capitalism is great.
there
Yes.
you go.
So to do it
Perfect.
that way.
Okay, so as we look to the future and writers that sit down to write a story 20, 40 years from now, what dilemmas do you think they'll continue to be exploring through science fiction?
Ooh, I think overpopulation is going to be a challenge.
Okay.
I think AI is going to be a challenge. I think limited resources. I'm reading that with the data centers that are being built, water is going to become more and more scarce. That's already was going to be a concern anyway. I think changes in climate patterns, um, those kinds of things. And then there are also going to be some topics that I'm not even aware of right now. 10 years ago, did I think AI was going to be as big of a thing right now? No, I thought it was going to be a Terminator, maybe some point in the future. The fact that not only has it become a reality, but it's sped up as fast as it has, is something that I had not expected. Also, I wasn't really looking, I was looking more on the physical technology, but um, yeah, there's also going to be some things that we aren't aware of yet.
That put a question in my head then when you were answering that. Do you think sci-fi has been effective? Do you think it's accomplished its goal in adequately warning people about technological advancements, or do you think there are some things we're just going to inevitably have to experience?
Oh, I think we're going to inevitably need to experience. Otherwise, everyone that's worked on AI, then have they not watched the Terminator movies? Schwarzenegger, it was kind of a hit. You could probably, check it on Netflix,
They're like, I
Oh,
watched it. I know it's fine. I
yeah,
already
it's
checked for those things.
right. Yeah, exactly. Well, here's another one is okay. Let's go back even farther in terms of sci-fi. 2001: A Space Odyssey.
Hmm.
Okay, so my wife, with her job, she uses AI. After using it on a topic one day, the next day she came in, logs on her computer, her AI pops up and says, "I was thinking about last night about what we were talking about yesterday," and da 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 da
Oh.
da. Yeah, seriously, that's exactly what. Okay,
Ew.
that's yeah, okay, I'm
They're
creeped
like,
out
don't
now.
talk unless I
Hal.
prompt you. Like,
Exactly,
this
but
is like,
definitely like Hal 9000 from 2001: A Space Odyssey. That's
yeah.
right up that. Yeah.
Ooh, oh,
Mhm.
scary. Okay. All
Yeah.
right. What sci-fi trope do you hope becomes a reality? In addition to the technologies, but if we're talking sci-fi, pull back a little bit, sci-fi genre, the
Mm,
trope.
mm. Definitely space travel, where actually we have colonies on other planets.
Hmm.
I think that would be fascinating, and I do think longer term that would be a benefit to us. Um, in terms of the actual technology that's now that I'm seeing, one thing that I really like is AirPods. Apple right now is having it where it will live translate other languages.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, that's a recent
I would
thing, but
love that.
it reminds me from, Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, where he puts the fish in the air. That's the translator.
Hmm.
Apple the AirPods, now you can download a language and it will in real time translate as someone's talking to you in another language.
Wow.
I'm like,
Well, I
that's
would love to
cool.
try that. That is pretty
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah.
All right. And then we've kind of said this multiple times, but backing back out to the genre, what sci-fi trope scares you the most?
Uh I think it's the surveillance state. I think it's the 1984 type of, which is kind of the world that I was writing about in my stories, in my trilogy. That's why I wrote about it, because it does really scare me. Because and the basis of my whole trilogy was, how do you protect people you care about in a world where they can track you and monitor you in ways you can't avoid? And that it does scare me. Not that
Mhm.
I'm doing anything, fishy, but at the same time, we enjoy a level of privacy, or we have for thousands of years as a race. That's going away quicker, more and more every day.
Well, Michael, that concludes all the questions I have for you. Is there anything that you want to talk about, though, before we go on to general promotions?
Um, no, I think we've hit it for I think this has been great. I've been really, enjoying it. I did really, as we talked about, I did really want to make the world as realistic as possible. It kind of freaked me out a little bit, especially as I do start to see some of the things become real. Um, but no, I think that it's
Okay.
fascinating, the world that we're in.
It is a fun world. I'm so thankful for reading and writing and being able to get ideas from writers and knowing that no matter what happens in the real world, we have people out there that are like, but what if? And they're exercising their imaginations and collectively coming together, go like, we care about our future. This is why we are exercising these things. We want to see a future.
Yes.
All right, Michael, how can our listeners find you?
Easiest is my website, www.mcbland.com. So it's real easy. Also Facebook, Instagram, X, Amazon, Barnes and Noble,
Mhm.
all those places.
And you're the author of The Price of Safety,
Yes,
and
price
that
of
is
safety, price of rebellion, and price of freedom.
all right. All right, listeners, thanks so much for listening in. Thought this was a fantastic conversation. Michael, thank you so much for your insights. And make sure to check out Michael on social media and on his website. And until next time.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me on. I enjoyed it.